Hey there, what's happening? This is Whistler. Actually, this is Blackcomb Mountain here and Whistler over there. There are two different ski resorts that blend into each other. A spring day with weird weather. It's sunny and clear skies up there, but then it was just raining quite hard. You can probably see some spots of rain on my sunglasses here. And as you can see, not enough snow on the runs here to be able to ski on. Today is April 27th, 2020, and I'm not sure if the snow would normally be replaced by like fake snow if the runs were open, because of course the ski resorts are closed because of the current global crisis situation. But anyways, not a lot of snow down here at the bottom. Lots more further up. You can see on the hills up there. I'm staying in a Airbnb down near the bottom of the lift here, and I'm going to walk along down here. I thought that I would hike up the hill and then record this video walking down the hill so that I'm not huffing and puffing through the whole video. So I thought that I would share some of the lessons learned in my past 30 years of traveling to 72 different countries, many of them multiple times. As I've mentioned in previous videos, and I started traveling back in the summer of 1990 when I was 18 years old. I got on a flight to London, England on May 1st. Today is, as I said, April 27th, so it's, 4 or 5 days from the 30-year anniversary of my adventures around the world. So the first lesson that I'll mention here is that nobody else is going to encourage you to chase your dreams. Now, certainly, some people will say that, but nobody else is going to do it for you. And very likely, a lot of people will discourage you from wanting to do the things that you might want to do that are outside of the mainstream accepted societal paradigm of high school, get your college degree, get a good job, work for 50 years, save up for retirement, and then sit around and watch TV for the rest of your life. There are lots of other ways to live life other than that, and it was just kind of my inclination naturally as a youngster, as a teenager, that I wanted to get out and explore and do different things and just live life with a passion and look for the kind of out there, crazy, weird experiences and gatherings and people and all that kind of stuff. And this wasn't something that anybody else said, hey, here are some ideas, you should do this and this and this. Certainly I came across, suggestions and whatnot from people along the way, but overall the general life trajectory that I chose was indeed my choosing, and nobody else was there saying these options are available to you. You could go to Europe and hitchhike around for cheap. You could go to India and live on $10 a day. These are things that you just have to decide you want to do it. Where there's a will, there's a way, and sometimes you're going to have to go against the wishes of your family and friends and what other people think is the safe route, the reliable route, the practical route, and it might tell you you can't afford it. What about your future? It's dangerous. And so you're just going to have to seize the reins of your life and go for it and do what you actually want to do, if you want to actually do what you want to do and not just be carried along by the expectations of society. And then another big lesson for me has been you don't need a lot of money. As I mentioned, you can travel through extreme measures and ways of hitchhiking around, camping, staying in hostels, meeting people along the way and staying in homes with people. Just keeping your expenses super minimum, going to supermarkets instead of restaurants, going to cheaper countries instead of more expensive countries. There are so many ways to bring down the expenses of traveling in order to make it possible, but also beyond that, there are lots of other ways to make that sort of a dream life happen, which is finding income in the course of your traveling adventures. Now, here is a good example of one. Working at a ski resort, if you get a job at a ski resort or a national park, as I did in Jasper National Park here in Canada for a number of years, and I saved up money and managed to work 6 months and then travel for 6 months and then go back to work, and then eventually it led into the YouTube thing. But I traveled for many years by just finding jobs and working and saving up and making it a priority to save and not spend it on other things that you can spend your money on, but just put it away and save up. And so if you don't have the money in the bank to be able to just catch a flight and go to Asia or Europe or Africa or wherever and go travel for 6 months or a year, then how can you get the money? And here's one option, or a national park or somewhere else in which you kind of get a traveling experience while working. If you can get a work visa for another country, for Australia or New Zealand or Canada, and go find a job there, and then it is a different kind of experience. You get out of your home, your hometown, your home state, and see somewhere different and meet other people from other parts of the world. Lots of the people here, you go into the markets and stuff, there's still markets open, and people have Australian accents and Irish accents. I talked to a lady at the market here who is from Ireland. And so that is a possibility. Also doing English teaching. There are lots of jobs available all over the world teaching English. English is the international language. It is the second language for millions and millions, probably billions of people around the world who want to learn English in order to be able to have greater possibilities in their lives of being able to work places that might require English as a second language. And so teaching English, and then all of the online opportunities, what I'm doing now with making YouTube videos and affiliate links, writing. I have books for sale, links down below here to my books on Amazon.com. So many different ways to make money as you travel without necessarily having a regular 9-to-5 type of a job. And so the point is, there are resources available, there are options available, there's all kinds of things that a person can do to jump outside the box and live a different sort of life from the typical 9-to-5, go to an office, go back home, watch TV, get up again to the alarm, go back to the office, work Monday through Friday, have a weekend off, etc. And then something else that you learn is that things have a way of working out. Because when you travel, you get into a lot of sticky situations, especially when you budget travel. Even if you travel, you know, and go to a exclusive resort in Cancun or whatever, then you never know what kind of situations are going to come up. You can get food poisoning, or you get there and they don't have your reservation, or you get there and the beach is clogged with seaweed and you can't actually go swimming. But especially when you travel on a budget, more extreme type of traveling in which you don't know how you're going to get to your next destination. You just go down to the bus station and start asking around, and turns out there isn't a bus leaving for 3 hours. But then maybe you ask around and you find a minivan that's going to your destination. There are all kinds of challenges and roadblocks and problems that come up in the course of traveling, and I've always found a way out. It's always worked out. Here I am, I made it this far. And so whatever happens, even if a virus hits and you get stuck in some country for a couple months, somehow things work out. People help you out. Opportunities jump up and present themselves. and you get through it. And sometimes you have to be resourceful and flexible and creative in your thinking and your problem solving. But these are very good lessons for life and skills to learn of how to deal with problems and approach life in a little bit different way, as opposed to just check the boxes and, you know, follow orders, do what is presented to you by your boss of here's what you do, now just do it, and don't think too much for yourself. So traveling leads to flexibility of mind and spirit, and looking at life and dealing with life in a different way. And then something else you learn is that people are nice all around the world. There are so many misconceptions, you know, generally based on truths, real stuff that happens, terrorist attacks and shootings and political turmoil, revolutions, various incidents, mobs, protests, corrupted governments, and whatnot. You know, here in Canada, there was a news story from, I think it was last year, a guy and a girl were driving along, I think it was here in British Columbia, near the Alberta border, or somewhere like maybe northern British Columbia, and end up unfortunately meeting up with these two guys who are on a murder rampage, and they just killed this couple. The girl was from the United States, the guy was from Australia, I think, and they just ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so you could, you know, read a story like that, say you're in, you know, Thailand, you're a Thai guy, and you see a story about that and think, oh, well, Canada sounds dangerous. But does that actually represent Canadians and Canada? No, it doesn't. It is an isolated incident, and these kind of things can happen anywhere. And meanwhile, most of the people are nice people and will help you out, lend you a hand when they see that you are in need, give you directions, give you a place to stay for the night, feed you a meal. We've been seeing travel videos from various travel vloggers going to some of the less visited countries like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, and showing that these countries are not at all what you see in the news, because the news does not show friendly people just being nice to somebody, or families going on a picnic by the lake. The news tends to show the dramatic events, and those dramatic events are usually bad events, and then people get a misconception about a country that it's all like this. It's all people rioting in the streets and random violence. And when you travel, then you get to get in touch with the local people in person and find out what they're really like, and discover that people are nice all over the world, and you can count on people to help you out. Even if you don't speak the language, people will very often go out of their way to try to help you out, especially if you ask for it and just make it clear, I need some help here. Then people tend to come through and show their good side and show the good side of humanity, despite the obvious failings and the reality of some bad people out there. Then most people are good and are kind-hearted and willing to help out. And it's warming up a little bit down here with the sun shining. And then something else that you learn is just how many different ways there are for humans to live. As you travel around the world, go to different countries, go to very different cultures, you just learn how very varied human civilization is. Even though here we are all in the same, you know, time frame and with similar technology, but of course that technology also is very varied around the world, and there are just so many different cultural differences, and it is quite fascinating to experience this, witness this, get involved in some of the cultural experiences and traditions, and see how, even though all of our basic needs are the same, clothing and food and a job and family and friends and fun and entertainment, but the different things that people do and the different ways that people meet those same basic needs varies tremendously. With each culture, then you get a glimpse into a past that goes back centuries, because of course humans have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and the current present circumstances of humans in any place that you might choose, Switzerland or Bulgaria or Egypt or Bolivia, then they got up to that point based on their very complex and multi-layered past, and so you're just kind of getting a glimpse into the past of human history with each culture and these various traditions and their songs and their music and their food and their myths maybe, or their various stories, and how they've developed, how different civilizations have approached their own evolution as a people, and how some have stayed more in the past and some have advanced into the future. And so as you travel around the world, then you get this taste of history, and as you learn more about the various places that you go to, and realize how convoluted and complex and multi-layered the history is in many of these places that you previously knew almost nothing about, or just had a little glimpse into it, like say Count Dracula, for example. This is a story, but it is based on a true man who was then fictionalized, but the man that it was based on conjures up a whole element of history of the battle between the Muslims and the Christians in Eastern Europe, in Romania and Bulgaria, and that region of the Ottoman Turks trying to invade into Europe. And this guy, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, I think was his name, how he was this brutal guy who fought back the Turks from invading Europe. And when you see the cartoons or whatever of Count Dracula, then that is what it is alluding to, is this real life history and a real person and world events that shaped that part of the world. And so it is a fascinating element of learning to tap into the history and learn about the cultures and everything that has happened in various places. So here's the lifts that aren't working. Excalibur gondola. Speaking of history, Excalibur and King Arthur, it is not known whether that is based on a true person or not, but it very likely could be. A real king back 1,000 or more years ago. So here you go. This is ski land in the middle of a pandemic, and also late in the season. Normally there would be lots and lots and lots of people around here. Whistler Mountain. It shows everything closed. And just thought that I would mention a little bit about future travel plans, both for myself and for others who are considering and hoping that they might be able to travel somewhere in the course of this year. Then there are actually some signs of hope of some countries signaling that they are thinking of opening up to tourism. For example, Croatia, Greece, New Zealand, maybe Vietnam are countries that I've just kind of heard rumblings about the possibility of them opening up and inviting tourists in in the relatively near future, within the next month or two. Nothing for certain yet, but you know, tourism is not just a frivolous thing. It is the livelihood of many people around the world, supporting families and entire communities and you know, millions and millions of people. And so various countries are certainly weighing the costs of staying closed against how bad the epidemic is in their area, and considering opening back up to tourism and inviting people in. And so I am just, you know, watching what's happening, and we'll decide based on what might be possible. Obviously, we still need to be safe and careful and everything, but if countries are saying, we want you to come back, we want your tourist dollars, and we want society to start to at least move back more towards normal, then I might very well jump on that. Certainly, even if that happens, then tourism is going to be much more slow throughout this year regardless, but there could be some possibilities for some traveling later on this year. And so I have no idea what I'll be doing, but I am keeping my eyes open and seeing what happens. All right, take it easy.